Hey guys, just letting you all know that there's a bit of background noise for the first 5 or 6 minutes of this interview, but then it goes away for the rest of it. Thanks everyone for listening and enjoy the interview. Welcome everyone to interview number 27 of OS Improvement Month, today with Rektygon. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hey. So, just in case people aren't familiar with you, could you give a brief introduction to who you are in the community and what people probably recognize you for?
So, I'm Rektygon. I sometimes do my Alex. I've been playing OSU for roughly 6 years now. Some of you might know me for my stream scores, my tournament performances, my tournament bans,
Oh no.
etc.
I feel like I recognize you more as just a crazy hard rock player more than anything else.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So I'm curious how your play style sort of shaped over time from the very first moments of you, maybe a little Rectagon playing Osu, playing your first maps, all the way to, I guess, your current play style where you're super like stream stamina, hard rock focused, and you got a little bit of DT speed in there as well. But yeah, can you walk us through sort of the Rectagon story?
Okay, so when I first started playing this game, I was a no mod one trick pretty much. I mostly just played songs my friends had or songs I liked, and I played no mod until I was like rank 8K, and then I started playing some hidden hard rock because I don't know. I just saw other people playing it, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. Then I played a lot of hidden hard rock, and then that led to a lot of hidden double time around rank like 4K. I actually didn't play hard rock only until I was around rank like 1K, surprisingly.
Do you remember around what year or like at what point you were like rank 8K and then also rank 4K?
I think it all happened around 2017. I I think I improved pretty fast. Like I went from like 100K to 10K in like 6 months, I believe.
Oh my, wait, what the heck? That is really fast. And that was all with no mod, right?
Yeah, I mean also at the time, like there was PP was a lot less inflated than it is now. So
Okay, that's true.
there's that. And I think the latter half of that year I got to around rank. I wanna say like 3K ish. I don't know. That all happened in a year. And then the next year I got to like top 1000. I played a couple tournaments. I think in the middle of that year, actually at the end of my second year, I got banned.
Oh, really?
It's pretty funny because it sounds like really petty, but I rage cheated and I got banned for a year. Or like I got banned for 3 months. Account got reset, and then I worked my way up to like top 500 in that year. And then in 2020, after my tourney ban expired, I grinded a bunch of tournaments, and then I somehow managed to play OWC in 3 years. I think that was pretty insane.
You, okay, let me go back one step further. So you made your account in January 2016, but then you didn't really start playing until over a year later
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
March 2017. So how did you find the game first and what made you want to pick it up over a year later?
I found Osu when I was binge watching a bunch of Geometry Dash videos because I actually played a lot of Geometry Dash before Osu. I don't know. I just felt like Osu looked cool. I got a bunch of videos in my recommended. There's like a big black video from some random player who got like which got like 4 million views in my recommended, and then I was like, maybe I'll try this game. And then I tried playing it, and since I also played a lot of CS:GO at the time, I kind of just forgot about it for a year. And then after a year, I I got really bored of CS:GO. I didn't like playing the game, so I just switched my main game over to SU. I was like, let's see how far I can get with this game.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and your play count went kind of crazy, especially during that time. You were like 2,000, 3,000 play count in most of these months. So you started basically grinding the game throughout 2017, and then by the end of that year, you mentioned you were around 4K or something like that.
I think so. I'm not too sure. Maybe if there is, what's that one website that shows you your rank over the years?
OC track, but your OC track only goes to July 2018.
Yeah, that's because I got it.
Okay, so at what point did you get restricted? 'Cause I actually had no idea you were restricted and you had your account reset.
It was I remember pretty clearly because I got unbanned in March, so it was mid December 2019. I hit a wall. I was like around rank 600 or 500, and I cheated two of the most lame plays of all time. Like, if you're cheating, at least make it cool, right? But yeah, I'm not condoning cheating, by the way. But it was yeah, I was really frustrated, and I cheated two plays, and then that's when the replay comparison tool came out, and then people were like comparing replays on like leaderboards,
Oh no.
and people like found that like the discrepancy between my play and some other plays were like very small, and then yeah, they caught me.
Wait, so how long was it between getting those cheated scores and then people actually finding out?
It was like a month or two. It's pretty
Okay.
fast.
Were they like number one
No,
scores?
no, no. I've only cheated two scores. One of them was Nevo's Doraemon with DT.
Yo.
And
Okay.
then okay. So I've seen that map with like 95 accuracy, and I got really pissed. So I stole someone's replay, and the tool I used was really bad. So it only got up to a 97
Oh
or
no.
something like that. It was like so stupid. I don't know. Yeah, freshman me was very very dumb, and
Oh
then
no.
another play was Inferno, like hidden hard rock. I had
Ah,
yeah, that was a score I really wanted. I had a bunch of failed runs with hard rock, or hidden hard rock at the time, and I had like 10 misses on the map, all on the same jump pattern, and silly goose me went and cheated that score.
oh no.
I regret it to this day. Mostly because I lost a lot of like history and like for my account because of it, as well as a lot of community integrity. It was
Interesting. And so that was in
yeah,
late 2019.
yeah, it was late 2019.
Okay. So from the beginning you mostly just played hard rock until you reached a fairly high rank. Were you more focused on aim type maps or stream type maps, or what skill set did you mostly gravitate towards?
Oh wait, what do you mean by hard rock? Like, or
Oh,
around what rank range or what time period
or
is?
okay, okay, I did not mean to say hard rock. I meant like when you were playing no mod at that time before you started
Hmm.
playing hard rock or other mods. What skill sets did you gravitate towards? Were you always kind of more of a stream player, or were you playing more aim stuff back then?
I'd say I just played in general. I just played like a lot of generic aim and stream maps. Like I wouldn't really dive into a lot of gimmicky stuff like more tech maps with big sliders or finger control. I mostly just stuck with simple maps, but the spacing gets bigger, sort of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So that sounds like most of the sort of popular no mod maps at the time.
Yeah, pretty much. There wasn't anything groundbreaking or gimmicky, I think.
So, did you have like other friends that also played the game alongside you while you were improving as a newer player, or were you mostly just kind of playing by yourself?
I did have a couple friends I played with mostly one. It was a guy named Sergeant R. He's a very close friend of mine, and we we never really competed because I got him into the game after I was already pretty high level, or around like 10K.
Oh, okay.
So he was just kind of just always trying to catch up to me, and now we'd always like kind of play multis and whatever. And another person that I actually competed with was One Tabby. Surprisingly, I've
Oh.
known him for over 5 years now,
Oh.
and he was around rank 14K when I knew who he was. And I met him through Sergeant R because they were in like this summer class thing, and he messaged me, "You're bad," and he was 14K at the time. I was like 20K, and then uh, if someone calls you bad, you got to prove them wrong. Kind of, kind of went after him, overtook him eventually.
Dang. Wait, that's crazy. I feel like I have a somewhat similar story of one of the first Osu friends that I met where they were like, I think I was like 15, 16K, or somewhere in the 10K range. And then he was
Yeah,
like 8K or something. And he messaged me. He was just like noob. I was like, whoa, who's this top player messaging me? He's rank 8K. Or maybe I was like 20K at the time. I don't know. But yeah, that's really interesting. So you had a couple people that were rivals, so to speak, but only, or really just one, but like only after you had reached a pretty high level already.
yeah, I'd say so.
Interesting. So,
Mostly, it wasn't really too intense.
right. Okay.
Yeah, it's just we're just goofing around, seeing who could get a better player on maps.
So were you always taking the game pretty seriously, like as your main game, and like always trying to improve as much as possible?
Kind of like I mostly tried to get scores on maps that I liked rather than just playing whatever is like really farmy at the time. I did occasionally like I did like ironically play some farm maps to get some scores, but
Okay.
it was mostly I played songs I liked and maps I liked. So at the time, I really liked a lot of the streamy like ICDD maps, like Uda. I thought Uda was really fun, or the 6 star Yomiuri,
Oh.
and yeah, I thought like those stream maps were really fun, and I kind of played a bunch of those.
So even back then, were you pretty comfortable playing streams, or was it something you had to like really start from ground zero with?
Kind of hard to say. I feel like I did have like a pretty good start on streams, sort of maybe naturally. Maybe it was like the way I tabbed, but like something along the lines that I did right allowed me to kind of get a head start with streaming. I'm not really too sure. Just kind of, kind of got it.
Speaking of your tapping style, I want to ask a couple, well, not really ask, but I've always been very
Yeah,
mesmerized by how like all your fingers just flail around on the keyboard.
yeah. I don't know. It's just really comfortable. Just kind of letting my fingers like it doesn't look comfortable, but like my fingers are very loose.
Right, right.
So because of that, it looks like I'm just kind of flailing around. I think that's about it. It's
Interesting. Yeah, I think that that looseness is really what's more important than like the actual way that your fingers move. So, at what point did you start playing in tournaments?
yes, tournament. I first played back in 2018. Surprisingly, the first tournament I played in was USC 2018. That's I forgot who my teammates were, but I remember Tony, like um, the weird face user guy,
Right,
and
right.
then Ed, Beast Troll MC, were on the team. and I was really surprised when I made the team. And dude, it was kind of I don't know. I really liked playing with them because Ed's Ed as like a random four digit. I was like 1K at the time. Like as a random four digit, if you're on the same like tournament team with a big streamer who you've like watched for a while, it's quite exciting and fun to play.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's how I found tournaments really fun eventually. I really liked playing with people that I got to know better and just kind of just dicked around with. It's really fun.
Dang. So from there, was that something that like really got you more interested in playing tournaments, or not really?
Sure. Um I how do I put this? I really like the adrenaline rush you get after like before and after you like play each map and then getting each point and then winning the matches. That was really fun. I just I really I don't know how to put it. It's like being competitive is fun, especially when you're around people that are also competitive.
Right, right.
I did play a couple other tournaments that year. I even played in Corsairs with not a very good team, but it's actually it's a funny story. I actually played Corsairs 2018 with It's Winter and Frenzy, like the mappers,
Oh,
and there was a somewhat popular streamer personality at the time. You know the narrator. You remember that
oh
name?
yeah.
Yeah, he was also someone on the team, and like he invited me to that team, and it was like it was kind of a funny team. I think we lost both our matches, like round to 32, and then losers instantly. But yeah, it kind of motivated me to like kind of get better and play with better players.
So how did narrator find you?
No idea.
Oh,
I wait. I may have been in a couple community Discord servers that he was in, maybe, but yeah, I'm not really too sure.
interesting. So you started playing tournaments around 2018, and then in
The ban happened,
right,
so
and that was in late 2019.
yeah. So I had an entire year where I could not play tournaments.
Oh, from the that ban.
Yeah,
Okay, wait. So you got unbanned. Wait, so did you get banned in December 2019, or did you get unbanned at that time?
I got unbanned in March 2020, or no,
Oh,
March 2019. I got banned in December 2018.
okay, okay, that
Yeah,
makes more
yeah,
sense. Okay, got it. So then you spent that time, I guess, during your tournament ban, you just focused a lot more on solo play.
yeah. I mean, yeah, nothing much went on during that time period. It's just I got on, played OC, got off. I did set a 727 PP score.
Oh, wait, that's that. I mean,
Yeah, I got a 700 while I was restricted, and it was I thought it was pretty awesome. It was when SongsConf the Senny first got ranked.
oh,
Yeah, I had a choke on it.
so were you starting to play Hard Rock only around that time in 2019?
No, it's actually how I got into Hard Rock is I actually didn't really play Hard Rock until Hard Rock Cup. Like just around when I got into Hard Rock Cup, I think I was like, that's when I really started grinding Hard Rock, and that was around when I was like rank 400. I prior to that, I did not play much Hard Rock at all.
But
I,
that was in 2020. That was actually your very
yeah,
first tournament win, tournament badge.
yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not really too sure how I got such a good grasp on Hard Rock, but I started pretty late, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that you said you did start playing Hidden Hard Rock and Hidden Double Time quite a while earlier, although you were mostly Nomad. So maybe just
Yeah.
putting the two together wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I think the reading from like I think the reading got easier because I played a lot of double time. And then I guess precision was I don't know about precision. I think precision was like almost second nature to me.
Interesting. I'm curious if I had to guess, that's probably just from like the amount of like Nomad sort of like foundation that you built for yourself.
True. Yeah, but it's I think it's I also think it's really interesting how I managed to become really good at precision because I think my that was my strongest skill set while I was playing Hard Rock Cup. I would go in and near FC every like CS 6.5, even CS 7 maps.
So
Yeah.
at that point, okay, so that was your first tournament win in 2020. And
Mhm.
then, long story short, you ended up on the World Cup team that year. So, what was
Mhm.
that sort of phase of your history sort of like?
It was pretty high.
I mean, how many tournaments did you play throughout 2020? Oh, okay, you just linked your tournament history.
Yeah.
I assume that Hard Rock Cup is what really put you on the radar for a lot of people.
I mean, I guess, but like it's really interesting because I I personally think like my Kanyo Cup performance actually
Oh, that's
helped me
true.
out a lot more for putting myself out there because I
So
think I performed pretty well in that tournament.
Konya Cup Division 1. Wait, I can't find you actually on the team sheet. Do you know whose team you were on?
I was on Fancy's team.
Oh,
Oh yeah, my username was One Tabby Trash.
oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, I had a couple name changes
I
that year.
see.
Yeah, I think it was probably I personally think that like Joel like maybe talked about me like putting me on the team a lot.
Yeah, he probably found you. Well, actually, let me check the timeline because I suspect he found you from Hard Rock Cup, if I had to guess.
Oh
Because you didn't have that many like big tournament performances until then.
yeah,
Let's check the dates. Yeah, that seems possible. Okay, no, never mind. The draft happened like very early into Hard Rock Cup. So I'm actually kind of curious. I mean, maybe it was just because you were actually pretty high rank by then. You were rank 83 during Konyo
mhm.
Cup.
Yeah. I was like floating around like rank 100 to rank 50 in 2020.
I wanted to ask a little earlier about
Hmm.
aim type stuff. So, okay, so at what point did you start playing with tablet, and then how much experimentation did you do when you were newer to the game with like area or grip or things like that, or was it something that you just didn't really bother with at all?
So I think I started playing tablet around rank 80K, and I just got the default Haku driver, or not Haku. I got the default Wacom drivers. I found a random area on the internet that was apparently good,
Oh,
and I stuck with that all this time. To this day, I still use the same area that I used back then.
was that like, did you just Google like Osu tablet area or what?
I searched like Osu top player areas, and I found the spreadsheet with a bunch of them on it, and one of them I saw like Cookie Z's area is like I don't know, it was like his 2017 area, and I thought it was a good size, and I just stuck with it.
Ah, interesting. So
That was it. Like it's not much deeper than that, honestly.
I feel like the next natural question is because a lot of people mention that like, oh, you shouldn't copy top players and just experiment with what
Mhm.
works for you. But do you have any thoughts on that saying?
I think I think it's fine to incorporate other people's settings and or play styles into your own, but if you are going to make a change, you should commit to it to see if it really does to see if it's really beneficial for you or not. But I mostly have this philosophy of I'm going to stick with something, and if something goes wrong, I will try to fix it by giving myself more time. I wouldn't like try to change my own settings. Like if I was aiming bad on a certain day, I'd just be like, it's just an off day. I just did not mess with my settings.
Interesting. And uh, I assume you also like you changed your keybinds pretty early on and just kind of stuck with that as well.
Okay, so that is the one thing I did change a lot, mostly because my keys kept double tapping. So
Oh.
I would do the thing where I'd go from like ZX to ZXCVBN, and then I'd just like go down each row. Then I'll go up ASDF, GH, whatever, and then QW, and then I was eventually on left bracket, right bracket.
Oh my god. That's funny.
Yeah, and then I would go back like from left bracket, right bracket to like O and P again because they stopped double tapping for some reason. So I would
Oh.
just use that again. And then I would try to find like which one stopped double tapping. And I would just do that over and over again with my first keyboard until they eventually all just double tap to hell. So I just had to get another keyboard.
That's funny. So, do you have any experience with like different keyboard switches and I guess your general
Oh
thoughts on
yeah.
switches?
I think it doesn't matter what switch you use. Like even like heavier switches like blacks or like really light switches like clears, like speed switches, they don't make you play better or worse. It's just how much you get used to what you're playing on. And but the one thing that will impact your gameplay is latency on your keyboard, and that is something that is very noticeable. Like I think there's a website like it's called Artings where they have a bunch of like keyboard tests, and it shows you which keyboards have the lowest latency. And surprisingly, Corsair keyboards have the lowest latency out of any keyboard.
Oh, interesting. Can you link that
They,
website?
yeah, yeah. I have a link right here.
So, are there any
Um,
peripherals that really do make a difference? Like either like anything in your setup, like monitor refresh rate or like tablet driver, I guess, or anything like that. Is there anything that really does make a difference?
I think if you're not doing the Linux method and remove all latency and stuff, I think um, I think smoothing does make a very big difference. A lot of people, when I see a lot of people like play, whether it's like me coaching someone or just watching another player out of nowhere, what I find a lot is that people like aim too fast while they're tapping behind, or they either tap ahead and they're aiming too slow. I don't see the latter that much. It's mostly like people aim too fast on like space streams, and that causes them to like miss a note lock. And a lot of that can actually be mitigated if you use some smoothing. Because what smoothing does is like it like makes your cursor more smooth, but there's also it adds latency as well. So like it like helps you like coordinate like your tapping and you're aiming at the right time.
Okay, I'm
That
actually
that that's like something I think is like an actual like game changer.
yeah.
That's why I started using a bunch of smoothing, and it helped my flowing so much.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I've had a lot of people message me talking about like they're like frustrated because they always like leave the note too early, like on jumps. Like they would aim it perfectly, but then they would tap after they already left. And I use the default Wacom drivers, which kind of have some like built-in latency.
Mhm.
And then one day, this was actually pretty recently, a couple months ago, I tried using Open Tablet Driver, I think, or so one
Mhm.
of the custom drivers, and I started having that exact problem. I was like, why is this happening? And then I'm pretty sure it's because like by default those drivers have way less latency,
Yeah.
and so and you're basically supposed to like it allows you to customize it yourself, but like
Yeah,
you
you like conditioned yourself to the Wacom driver. So it's like
yeah,
once you like get no latency, it's almost like playing on a completely new setup.
right,
Almost.
right. And it's like you could retrain technically if you wanted to like adapt,
Yeah, you definitely can.
but I feel like it's a much faster and more practical fix to just add some smoothing
Hmm.
because especially for people that are really having that problem, like you could just try to adapt to the lower smoothing, but it's probably going to be a lot less frustrating if you just add some smoothing because I've had a lot of people like ask me about that and I'm just like, yeah, you need to add smoothing to your drivers, and then they're like, what the heck, my aim is so good. So
Yeah, it does go both ways. Like either force yourself to get used to it or add some smoothing and make it feel like what you used to use or yeah, it's either fixing your reading meant like just by getting used to it yourself or having the software do it for you.
right, exactly. So there's a couple specific questions that came in for you that I want to go through quickly. So
or
one person asked, Rektygon, how did you go about improving your stream speed slash stamina? Were there any specific types of maps you would play for this?
I did a lot of the more generic stuff. I played a lot of maps with bursts and maps that would eventually like get longer bursts. And I would also play a lot of other like extreme maps, I guess. And then I just raised the BPM over time. Like if I was if I was like comfortable with 200, I might like start playing like 210, 220, and then try to get used to that. And then I'd like try to raise it over time, pretty much. I don't know.
Do you feel like you use a slightly different technique with like lower BPMs versus like really fast BPMs? Because I feel like
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Um, I kind of do the Edward thing where like he moves his thumb around when the maps get a bit fast. I don't know. And when the maps are really slow, I kind of lock my thumb next to my index finger and I tap a bit harder to like give myself more control.
Like what Cookies he does with his thumb?
A little bit, yeah. Except I put it like right next to my index finger instead of like kind of under it. I like
Oh,
put it.
okay. I see. Yeah, because I know a lot of people find themselves they like hit a wall around like 200 or 210 or something like that. Do you have experience with like seeing other people kind of reach that wall, or is that something you experienced yourself? And do you have any tips for like breaking past that speed barrier, especially around like 200 BPM?
So I think there is a lot of talent, not genetics, but talent that goes into people that become fast. I think a lot of players have a lot of like this natural talent where they are able to stream faster than a lot of other people, but it's really hard to it's like everyone can reach the same like speed levels as long as they practice the proper methods that work for them and use the right and play like the maps that would help them get to that level. But yeah, I've also reached a wall in my speed as well. Like I think for long stream stamina, I'm like capped around 250 at most, and then for like shorter bursts, I can't do anything past 280 or 270 even. Mostly because probably because I haven't trained it as much recently, but also because I feel like there is a wall there. That it's like it's a pretty big wall that I can't get over. But like at any BPM and any like and any wall, like as long as you can like practice like the hell out of what you're trying to get over, you should eventually be able to. It might take years even. Like it actually took me I think it took me like 4 months to get from like 230 BPM to 260 BPM, like for like longer streams. It takes a while.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing, especially with the whole talent thing, is that like for some people, it really does just come natural, like way more naturally, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot less like experimentation they need to do with like their technique or whatever. Like some people just naturally the way they tap is just way more suited to like tapping smoothly. Like they just naturally have their fingers loose and things like that. And but basically what you're saying is that you like regardless of your starting point, anyone can reach the same levels. It just might take way
Mm-hmm.
more practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
some people are just talented. And for fast speed, I am not one of them. Yeah, those people, like the window lives, the Eternas in this world, they're anomalies.
So someone sent in a question somewhat related to this. They said, "Do you think rate changes are a good way to raise the BPM cap?"
Uh, so I think they're a good. It's a helpful tool, but you should definitely play like normal maps as well that are in that BPM range or in that star range because rate changing it really just helps you practice on that specific map. But if you really want to like put that into practice, then you're gonna have to play the the regular maps out there. Good
Okay, I
question,
see.
Josh.
So
Yeah.
it's more for like as a practice tool, so to speak.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Like I think I have like a funny like analogy, I guess, because I used to play the piano and we'd there would be different books. Like one is there was like a basic book or like with like all the songs that I would play, and there was a technical book that had a bunch of like it had songs that were more to like challenge your fingers technically and stuff like that. And then I had a third book which was just like staircases. I don't know how to describe it. It's just
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've played the piano, but uh,
Is it like
have you?
Hanon exercises?
Yeah. It's those are like the stamina training maps. It's like the blend S's of the piano world. Yeah, and I think rate changes do fall into like that sort of category of like it's like a different tool or like it's a different thing that you can use to practice to help you with the normal stuff or the stuff you are actually trying to play and grind. Unless you grind rate changed maps, which is stuff other rhythm games do.
Speaking of the blend S's of the universe, I'm curious your thoughts on the like long stream practice maps. That's like just a square over and over
Mm-hmm.
again. Your thoughts on those for training speed and stamina as opposed to playing actual maps?
That I'm not too sure on. I never really played those square long stream stamina maps, but I do I think they probably don't help too much because I think a lot of what stamina has to do with is like I think stamina is also tied in with like the patterns you're reading and aiming, and I think that also impacts how much stamina you have. So I think playing regular maps or even rate changed maps are with actual patterns are more helpful than just moving your cursor in the square. I don't know.
Okay, I see. So it's more of the like coordination aspect.
Hmm.
So there's another question that came in regarding tapping training. Someone asked you, how do you deal with finger locking?
Finger locking, that's a kind of a bit challenging for me to answer because I still do finger lock every now and then. I don't really have a complex answer for that. It's mostly just keeping your fingers loose, but tensing up when you need to. It's like a mix of, I think it's like a mix of both. If you loosen up too much, you might start finger locking, and if you tense up too much, you might start finger locking. I don't know.
I see. So you don't want to be completely like limp, I guess, but you do want to have that looseness that lets you move your fingers fluidly.
Sort of, yeah. I don't know. That's something I've yet to figure out because I still kind of kind of struggle with finger locking every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like finger lock is something that a lot of people do experience still, like even the best of best players. And I
Mhm.
feel like the wooden keyboard is a good showcase of that because a lot of top players that like struggle with finger locking, those are the ones that find the most value out of the wooden keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen like the videos and what it can do, and I'm like, that's interesting. That's it. I don't really have an opinion on it. People use it to get better. Good on them.
So I'm curious because you've done a couple coaching sessions with people in the past, and I suspect a lot of them come probably to talk about either like tapping or maybe hard rock or any like skill cap related stuff. Because I feel like that's sort of your strong suit,
Mhm.
so to speak. So, are there any common like not really mistakes, but like reasons why some people come for coaching, and like common things that you find yourself explaining often, and if that is like something you can sort of share here as well?
Sure. I think the biggest barrier for people that I've been coaching is it's mostly mental. A lot of people need like a lot of people like come across instead of like a physical barrier. A lot of people have this mental barrier that they struggle to get over, which I understand because I go like I have times where I do not have motivation to play the game and I'm I sort of force myself to play, which is not very healthy. Mostly because of tournaments, I have to stay consistent. But like, it's I feel like a lot of people struggle with a lot of the more mental sides of the game, whether it's like, oh, they aren't able to like set a score on certain maps, or they feel like they're stuck on a certain like BPM or star rating, and I think it's really to clarify those mental barriers and figure out ways that could potentially help people get past them. That is like the most important part of coaching. Every now and then I do get the occasional person who's like really just looking for like a solid routine, which could also be mental, but like a routine, maybe they want maps, maybe they want like my opinions on certain like styles of play, but it's mostly I mostly deal with like how you can mentally like get past your your mental barriers. Yeah.
How would you define a good mindset versus a bad one?
I think a good mindset is one of my principles while playing that I try to follow. I sometimes fail to follow it, but it's something I try to live up to. Is I don't try to set high PP scores, but rather once I get to a point where I know I can, or where I know I could set a score on the map, or I know I have the potential to set a score on the map, it should just come natural. The score should just come naturally to me after I play that map. So it's I don't chase after the PP. I let the PP chase after me. that's, that's
I,
how I put it.
that makes sense. So it sort of sounds like you expect yourself to like if you know you have the actual skill capabilities to get a score, then
Mhm.
like you don't like try to grind for the score. You just expect that like if you really have the ability to get a certain score, then like it'll just happen when you play the map.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. See a guy ask me, "Do I play Minecraft PvP?" No, I do not. I play modded Minecraft sometimes.
Do you have any
No
favorite
PvP.
mods?
I really like this. I like the Sky Factory. That was pretty fun. Or I haven't completed a lot of mod packs, so I can't really say. Although there's one mod that I hold dearly and truly to my heart, and it's called Antimatter Chemistry,
Oh,
and it's a mod where you like use elements to make certain things. It's pretty cool. But that's how I found out what the game was.
oh my god.
I can't get it out of my head.
Oh no.
I
Are there any
don't know.
other games that you play actively these days or that you played actively in the past?
Play kind of a variety. Right now I'm playing Terraria again. The new update came out.
Wait,
Pretty
really?
cool. Yeah, they've reworked a lot of the melee weapons.
Oh shoot.
So like the projectile, they changed a lot of the projectiles to make them more. It feels like a lot of them are more AOE and stuff, but like it's a lot cooler. And
Interesting.
I played this game called RimWorld. If you, it's like a colony management simulator game.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
it's almost like Prison Architect, but it's really fun. And I played a bunch of FPS games. I've been playing the new Overwatch. I played COD Zombies, Borderlands. I love Borderlands.
Oh, dang, those are some good answers.
I played a variety of games. Not really like a lot of the like super mainstream ones. Like I haven't really touched like, or I haven't really like touched on like League or Valorant. I haven't played CS:GO in a really long time. Like when I started playing Osu's when I quit CS:GO. So
I see. Okay, interesting. Speaking of other activities, you mentioned earlier that you played piano. How long were you playing piano for?
um, played since third grade to seventh grade. I mostly quit. I quit piano because I was forced at the start, and I kind of stuck with it like reluctantly because of the because of that. I haven't really improved. Like my piano skills were mostly carried by like natural talent to a point, and then since I never practiced and I never got anything out of it really.
Interesting.
I think. Mhm.
Because I was thinking that that experience with playing piano probably helped a bit with like allowing yourself to keep your fingers loose while playing Osu, if I had to
Mhm.
guess.
I think it helped a little bit, maybe at the start. Maybe I think it might have given me a small boost at the start because I would like do a lot of the what was the book called? The
Hannon?
Hanon exercises. Yeah. I think that like may have helped me a lot, like
I see.
potentially.
That
But I
would
think
make
I could
sense.
also tie that back to like mental, like because if you don't want to do something, you won't find improvement in yourself doing it. which is what I saw with piano.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson to share as well. So, somewhat related to mindset slash attitude, someone asked a question. They said,
Mm.
as you know, many people look up to top players, and there's some players that sometimes behave poorly, and it has an impact on the players that look up to them. So they asked, does behavior of a top player matter so that you can be a good example for newer players?
I feel like hmm, kind of a weird question to ask me, considering that I might have a bad history with keeping a good name to myself.
Oh no.
I think to an extent, yeah, because people would probably be interested or want to imitate your play style if you are like a good player and a good person. I think that's why people may. I don't know who's like a good person in the OSU community. That's a top player. Like
Oh,
off the top of my head, I don't know who's like a really good example. Um,
that's
I
funny.
guess like uh, who? Oh, true. Habib, you're a good example. You have I think you're a good person, right? And I think a
Um,
lot of people do look up to you for that.
well, I'll take that as a compliment. I feel like most people, like maybe Utami is a good example. Also, everyone likes Utami.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, like I think if you're I don't know someone. Yeah, that's kind of a weird question.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think it does matter. Like, people aren't gonna want to look up to you if they feel like you're not like a very good example,
Mhm.
like
Oh,
behavior
I
wise.
mean, yeah, for sure, for sure. If you want to be a good example, you should be a good person. Like you have to be able to set those good examples.
Right? I think the real question is like, once you become a top player, do you then gain the responsibility to be a good example to the people that look up to you? Because to a certain extent, like
Oh,
you,
in that sense,
yeah.
I get. I think for that it really depends on each player's philosophies, but for me, I think it's kind of a yes and no. But I don't really have like a concrete answer on that. Like some people, like I kind of see both sides of the coin. Like you might say no because, well, it's a game. You have to play for yourself, right? Like all that matters is you. What doesn't matter of how the community looks at you as long as you're doing it for yourself. When the other one could be like, if you are like trying to like set a good example, you could say like, oh, it's like for like community integrity and whatnot. But
All
yeah,
right.
I'm not too sure.
So on a similar topic, I think a lot of people, especially in the somewhat recent times, recognize you as someone who got Tony banned for a year. Can you sort of give your perspective on that whole situation?
Um, I haven't talked about this much outside of my friends and close people because I didn't want it to become bigger than it should have been. I've seen like how poor behavior or even like saying stupid things I've done to players in the past, and I tried to like I tried to keep it like very low key all the time. But what was the question again? Like my perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, can you sort of describe your perspective on the whole situation?
I mean, I did feel very. I felt kind of cheated at the start because it was I was going into my senior year of high school. I have a lot of time to dedicate to OSU because senior year you apply to colleges or do nothing and then do nothing. But like I had that whole year kind of stripped away because I did some very stupid actions. A bit was taken out of context, but I do take responsibility to an extent of what I've done. There were like there were two incidents. I think one of them was I I made a team of players, and then I called it not playing, and we signed up for the tournament, and we didn't play. But as a kind of last minute joke, me and a couple of friends were like, "Hey, what if we signed up for a qualifier lobby, not play?" I mean, at the time, we thought it was a bit. At the time, we thought it was funny, but it turns out like the host was not having it. They were pretty frustrated by what happened and took action. Although it was there was actually a bit of backstory to why I actually did that in Gaff, and that's because I got schedule cucked really hard in the previous iteration,
Oh
and I
no.
still had I had like a small grudge against like the host for making my almost entire East Coast like team play at like 12 UTC.
Oh, for reference, that's 8 a.m.
And like we weren't able to reschedule it, and the only reason they did it was because of one player. It was like a Singaporean player. Forgot who they were. I think it was like Demonical. But when the tourney actually started, the person that stopped us from rescheduling in the first place didn't even show up to the tournament.
Oh my god.
So I was at the time I was really pissed. If you I think there might be like a gaff highlight, and it was like I I I got really mad, and I threw on a I threw on a point where, and I was like I stopped playing, and I like flailed my cursor around. I think I was streaming, or like someone was streaming, and you can hear me kind of getting really mad, and I kind of had like a bunch of pent up anger when I went into gaff for the next iteration with that team. And I'd say I did even if I was like even if that was like 2 years ago, I did learn a lot from it. I've become a better person, but at the time it was really frustrating. I wanted to like put my anger out again.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. That sounds incredibly frustrating. Like it's one thing to need to play at a really bad time for like, especially in team tournaments. It's something that happens. It's not fun, but it's a whole nother thing for those people that are like really picky with their scheduling to not even show up for the match. Like
Hmm.
that sounds really frustrating.
And then there's the other tournament, which was it was like a draft tournament, and I didn't get on the team I wanted to, and it was I think this was right around when Gaff happened as well,
Yeah, yeah,
or
it was.
yeah. I don't know. I think I just I was having a lot of mental booms at that time period, and I had like I was getting a couple. I think I was getting mood swings every now and then. Like I'd be really pissed off one moment, and then I'd be like really chill the next. And I and in the heat of the moment, I just randomly decided that even if I got on a team that I didn't know anyone on, I would just not play. And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of players like just no show in draft tournaments. Like I know a couple names off the top of my head that like just didn't show up in like the rest of Mercenary Shop. But I was like more explicit about it, I guess, and people took that pretty hard. And then like because I did that combined with Gaff at the time, I think that's the tipping point. That's where everyone got pretty mad at.
Yeah, I think that all was happening in summer of 2021. I think
Mm-hmm.
early-ish, like June or so, around then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the gap situation is, I think, really what got it spiraled out of control because the host of the tournament was also the referee for that qualifier lobby, and you were
Mm-hmm.
the only team in there, and the schedule, like the timing, wasn't very good for like the host. Which
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I was always confused about, I'm not sure why the host like felt like they needed to ref that lobby at like 3 in the morning.
I feel I think it was like 6 in the morning, but like I sometimes I get confused as to why the host was even up at that time to host the lobby. I I feel like there's something a bit weird, like a bit quirky about that situation.
Yeah,
But at the same time, I I should have, if I was going to troll in the lobby, I should have signed up in the lobby with other people
right, right.
because then the lobby wouldn't be a waste of time. Because
Yeah.
like then everyone else in the lobby can have fun or like get through their qualifiers while we just sat around and do nothing. And then the ref would have been like, yeah, whatever. These guys not playing. Cool.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but it's like I, I don't know. I'm not trying to defend anyone in particular, but I would think that the GAF staff, after having like 8 or 9 or whatever, how many iterations of the tournament, would have a ref that can ref at like a more reasonable hour for that lobby.
Mhm,
But yeah, so from that situation, you got a 1 year tournament ban, and
mhm,
so that sort of I I honestly also I think everyone sort of agreed that like it was blown super out of proportion, especially because it's gaff. And like I think if I had to give my own perspective about it, like everyone trolls that tournament, so it was like
yeah.
nothing out of the ordinary. I was like, I mean, at the time I thought it was funny because it's just like literally everyone who plays gaff, at least that I know, like they just troll like completely. But yeah, that so from that you were basically like it was like effective immediately. Like you couldn't even finish the tournaments that you were in at that time.
I feel like the most ironic part of the tourney ban is that it's like if I was like not playing in my tournaments, wouldn't it make sense to force me to play in my other tournaments? Like I think banning me from my other tournaments, I don't know, it feels ironic that you ban someone who's like deliberately not playing in tournaments from their other tournaments is kind of stupid in a sense.
Yeah, I see what you mean actually. It's like if you're trying to get someone to start like actually showing up to their matches, then why would you make them like why would you force them to not be able to show up to any of them?
I did. There was I was my team agreed in in the mercenary shop. They agreed to let me play again. Like I think most of them agreed. Like they didn't want to deal with the drama. They'd rather just like have me play and then win the tournament because they were in finals actually,
Oh,
which actually made me feel really bad because maybe I could have done something, but like I was like not in I was not in the mentally right spot at the time, so it was I made a very dumb decision, and then
Yeah,
I was banned anyway, so I couldn't make it up to them.
that sounds rough. Was that tournament badged?
I think so, and
Okay.
I don't think I think they lost in grands because of that.
So how the tournament ban works, basically, in case people don't know, is that tournaments that are like a lot more casual and don't have an official profile badge as the prize, those are like you can still play them, it's perfectly fine. But ones that are sort of like quote unquote officially recognized, which means that the tournament host applied for a profile badge as the prize for the tournament, those tournaments are the ones that are a lot more strict with like participants or and like mm, people like getting screened out if they had like suspicious track record or things like that. So those are the tournaments that you basically weren't allowed to play in for that during that time. So it seems like after that tournament ban, you took a pretty long break from the game.
I did a couple things. I stopped playing OSU for a couple months. First time in like 5 years that I didn't play OSU for more than a week. Like for the past 5 years before that, I would I would play Osu at least once a week, even on breaks. Like my breaks were no longer than like my family vacations and stuff were always no longer than a week. So as soon as I got back, I just play Osu. Like I didn't want to stay rusty, but yeah, I took a long break and then played a bunch of Hades, if you know what that game is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had fun with that, and then started slowly getting back into Osu. I like stopped using a lot of social media. Like I had like a Twitter account, but I went MIA on that. Still don't really use it because I don't know.
Would you recommend other people stop using social media also? Do you have any thoughts on social media as a whole?
I feel like if you have something dumb to say, like that doesn't really align with anything that the community in that social media sphere wants to hear, you should probably keep it to yourself in your own friend group, or if you really want to say it, be stupid, make a burner account. I don't know.
I see.
But I think a lot of people take social media too personally, and it ends up hurting them mentally a lot. So I try to stick off on social media stuff. I don't I don't use anything else besides Discord frequently because I still like talking to people.
So you took a couple months off, and then were you actually that rusty when you came back, or not really?
I was pretty rusty. Yeah.
I see. So, but during that time, you still had your tournament ban, and so I
Hmm.
assume from there you just kept grinding in solo.
I don't know. I have to learn that I don't like playing solo as much as tournaments, and it was just kind of a little bit dreadful. Like I was mostly trying to de-rust to make sure that I was competent to be on the OWC team.
Ah,
That
I
was
see.
mostly it, and yeah, a lot has happened in that year. Like Jesus Christ, people, so many good players popped out of nowhere.
Oh, since last year?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I have a couple other questions. I think one is probably mapping. It seems like that's something that you're actually pretty passionate about. You have a lot of maps actually. So can you
Oh
talk a bit
yeah.
about like how you first got into mapping and what exactly is like the most fun part of it for you?
I started mapping around like say like 4 or 5 years ago. My maps are pretty bad, you know, usual first mapper stuff. I don't know, I just mapped on the side a lot. If I'm like after I'm done like playing in the session, or maybe after a multi, or maybe if I'm just not feeling Osu or any other game, I'd pick a song I like and try to map it. And then over time, I just kind of got better at it, and now I have a couple rank maps. That's about it.
I see. Yeah, it seems like your first submitted map was in August 2017, which is just, I guess, like 6 months or even less after you started really playing actively.
Wait, that's still up?
Yeah, it is.
Wait. Oh, that's actually I had a couple maps before that.
Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
but like yeah, that was like around the time I started mapping.
Spider-Man 2 pizza theme. How did you find this?
I think it was in a meme. I thought it was really funny.
Oh, okay, I see. In the tags you put YouTube meme.
Oh my god. Yeah,
That's funny.
I have some very interesting old maps.
That's funny. So another thing, looking back through these submitted maps of yours, is your username history. Where the first one being one tabby trash, I assume that was like a collab name change between because I
Yeah.
one tabby changed to Rektygon trash, which I guess was sort of an allude to your like rivalry at the time.
This was a bit like this was a bit after the whole rivalry thing. After that, after the rivalry, it was more of a we just occasionally like called each other like trash every now and then that just led to a split second decision where we're like, hey, you want to change your name to? If I change my name to One Tabby Trash, you should change your name to Rektygon Trash. And then we were just like, okay.
That's funny.
We had never had any name changes, so we used our free one on that. It was
Dang.
yeah, it was kind of interesting.
So then your other name change was Swaggy Swagster, which you did basically right after you made it onto the World Cup team in 2020.
So Swaggy Swagster is that was my friend's Roblox username,
Oh.
and my friend's like, I bet you to change your username to that, and then he gave me money, and I was like, okay,
Oh my god.
that's it. That's the whole story.
I remember because like you had just made the World Cup team, and then you changed your name to that, and I was like, dude, this guy is so troll.
I mean, that's in Osu history now.
That's
So,
true. And I think the other name, I guess it's relevant to ask now, is Rektygon. Is there a story behind this name?
oh, okay. Like Rektygon, the name.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought like the 2012 MLG meme like stuff was really funny. So that's where the wrecked comes from, because they'd say get wrecked a lot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I was looking for a new username, and someone had the username Hexagon on Roblox. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. So I just combined the two together, and that's what I stuck with. At first, there was no Y. It was an A, and
Ah,
then I changed it from an A to a I, and then I changed it to a Y. I don't know. I thought the Y looked the best.
yeah. I agree that it does. I think it looks pretty good. So that must have been a long time ago because you made your account with that username.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. I think the whole like MLG meme era was in like 2013 or so.
yeah. I was like, I was sticking onto it in like 2016, 2017. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it was still kind of a thing at that time, but
yeah,
yeah.
I watched a bunch of those YouTubers that made those compilations or stupid videos. Like, yeah,
So leading up to these days, so you got your tournament unbanned, and then
yeah.
yeah, from there you played. in Courses, and you got top two, and then once again you're on the World Cup team again.
Hmm.
So yeah, are tournaments as fun as you remember them being?
Absolutely. Actually, it's a lot more fun after you're like barred from them for a year.
Ah, I see. So looking into the future a little bit, do you have any end game sort of goals or scores that you're looking to get?
Let's see for goals. I want to win a couple more World Cups. I've yet to win a Corsairs. I actually lost that opportunity last year. Yeah, people got so good this year. Like we were like I gotta be honest, I felt like half the team or like most of the team on my Corsairs team didn't care too much at the time. I don't know. Like people were like often off doing other stuff, or they wouldn't practice pulls, or they would like wake up 30 minutes before the match, or wake up when the match started. And I don't know, it was a little bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, it was still pretty fun to play with, like the team. I felt like if we were more well prepared, we could have taken the dub, but what's happened is happened. So
Oh, in your Courses team this year?
yeah,
I see. Yeah, I feel like, man, it's crazy to see like different like eras of Osu and like players just come and go.
yeah. I hope to stick around for a little bit longer, just a little bit more.
Let's go. So while we're on the, oh yeah,
Oh,
go.
sorry. Um, I want to make sure I get a USC win. I'm gonna get one USC win in my
Oh
lifetime.
yeah, I heard that Virginia's going to be really strong next year.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's gonna be very. It's gonna be very one-sided, I believe.
Oh,
Very one-sided.
oh man.
I'm sorry, Florida. Sorry,
No.
SoCal.
All right. So on the sort of similar topic while we're talking about current
Mhm.
and future tournaments is the current World Cup that we're in. So, for context, while we're recording this, the qualifiers have finished and we are entering the first bracket stage, round of 32. So, the bracket is seeded, and I'm curious your thoughts on the US team this year, but also other teams that you feel like are pretty strong and you think will make it far.
Is there like a spreadsheet I can look at for teams?
Yeah. I will grab one for you. Um,
I don't know. I think Turkey will do really well this year.
Yeah, they're ever since 2019, they were the next best team aside from USA. They were one of the only ones to get a point.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty impressive. Not gonna lie. You know that might be Israel this year. You know, I'd say besides U.S., obviously Germany doing Germany things. South Korea looking pretty scary, but not that scary. You know,
Oh,
I thought Russia was very interesting. I think they can do very well. Poland, Poland's got like kind of kind of got a really hard carry on their team. Okay, Malice, absolutely dragging his team with him, just making sure they get like that number two call spot. Really impressive. Uh, what else? Kind of surprised Canada scored so low this year.
I mean, they got fourth seed. That's not bad.
Okay, fourth seed, but like they got like second or third, like all the years prior, right?
That's true.
So I don't know. It felt a bit off that they were a bit lower this year.
I think it's just because Poland spawned
Yeah,
and just knocked everyone down.
yeah. I mean, I thought maybe Canada could like keep up like whatever they were doing. I was also surprised with Australia because like Emmerich actually pulled his weight, which I respect. They got they got a lot higher
Yeah.
than previously.
Someone.
And
Oh, you can
mhm.
go.
I mean, for the other teams, I'm not too sure. Like a lot of them lost a lot of players. A lot of teams gained a lot of players.
Right.
Weird. What picks are you typically expected to go in when you're playing high level, late stage pools?
Yeah, like for you
Oh,
specifically in your skill set, like what types of maps do you tend to go in for in
oh,
like really high
true.
level tournaments?
I'd say people usually fill me in for Nomad 1, 2, 5. Sometimes Nomad 6 if it's high CS. That's the only time I go in for Nomad 6. All the hard rocks, all the DTs, all the free mods, and TB.
So basically just not hidden and not alter tech or nomad tech.
Yeah, I should probably start playing more alt because I've learned that I'm actually pretty decent at like late stage alt maps. But like early stage alt maps, just I don't know. I note lock and die everywhere, so it's not fun. And for tech, I'm very good at tech maps outside of tournaments. Like I like to I if you I mean if you see like I really like to play like tech maps with hard rock or like even just normally. But yeah, I don't know. In the tournament environment, I just can't seem to keep combo. And then hidden, I actually can play hidden. I might play a lot more hidden this year, but it's it's probably my weakest skill set. But I actually used to be a hidden player, sort of. Back when I was like around like rank like 5 to 2K in that like period, or even up to like 1K, I would actually I'd play no mod and hidden as my second mod. Right now, it's like mostly I play like hard rock and no mod as my mains, and then a little bit of DT. But back then, I would main both no mod and hidden, and yeah, surprised I just quit playing hidden.
How
Now I'm
did you?
struggling.
Oh no! How did you pick up hidden for the first time? Like, was it weird trying to adapt to the mod at first?
Nope. It just helped me read on hard rock and double time.
Okay. Oh, so
Yeah,
you
I
used
got
it.
pretty comfortable, yeah.
Okay, so mostly like alongside hard rock and double time. But did you ever play hidden only?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, if I was in like a multi lobby, I would almost always slap on hidden back then. I didn't know why. I like playing hidden in multis. Kind of a weird thing,
Oh, interesting.
but I had a couple good hidden scores. I had like a Hades the Rise hidden FC when I was like ranked 2K. I think that people thought I cheated that score over like the other ones, even
Oh,
though that one was actually legit. Like I was pretty good at hidden above AR 9.5.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I could play hidden pretty well on like higher ARs. I'm working on my low AR right now. Like I'm getting pretty good at like AR 8 hidden stuff. Like I could get like 500-600K, sometimes FCs on like up to like quarterfinals, hidden twos. I think it's getting better.
Awesome. So I want to also ask. So like, I've noticed that on a lot of like Hard Rock mod leaderboards, like you're just there.
Mhm.
Like you have so many just like random Hard Rock scores on a bunch of maps. And do you feel like there's value in just playing like a crap ton of different maps, like just a huge variety? Or do you feel like you'd rather just grind the same couple maps to get better at something? Or do you feel like it doesn't really matter that much?
I mostly grind maps that I find fun, or or like I grind hard rock on maps on of like mappers I like, or if a map has like a good song or a good pattern, I like to put some time into those with hard rock. It's not really a s- I don't grind out a map, like I don't like put in like 50 plays on it in a single session. I like to like put in a couple like I'd like to put in a couple plays across like a long period of time on multiple maps, but not really on one single map.
How do you find these maps? Like, what's your, I guess, strategy for finding maps, and how would you recommend most people go about like finding really cool maps to play?
I'd say if you want good maps, try to at the very start, join random multiplayer lobbies and download whatever people are playing. And then once you start to find like artists or mappers you like, I would like download a bunch of maps in those categories. That's sort of how I went about getting maps at the start. And then right now, I just occasionally look at if a mapper has new maps uploaded, or maybe there's like a map that's cool in like a tournament, or maybe there's a map everyone's talking about, then I download those. I don't think it's the most efficient because like you can obviously just get OC Direct or go on the website, download a bunch of maps, go on Reddit, get map packs. But I like to value the quality of my maps over the quantity. So I mostly just download at the moment. I mostly download stuff that I play or I enjoy playing.
Yeah, and you also mentioned like playing maps of a certain mapper that you like. Like, do you ever like just go to mappers profiles and just download all their maps?
Yeah, a couple mappers I did that for is Mazarin. Love my man Mazarin. Greatest mapper of all time. The Gamote. Uh,
Oh my god.
I like, yeah. I just go to their profiles and see what they have. I also like Overload Code. Like,
Oh yeah,
got
yeah.
some got some great song choices. Yeah, I really like a lot of the songs he picks. Like Madiva. Madiva's a banger.
So you were mentioning routines earlier that a lot of people come to you for, I guess, advice with practice routines. Are there any
Hmm.
general, I guess, pointers that you would give for especially people that want to get into your skill sets? So speed, stamina, or like hard work only, like really high skill cap stuff. Are there any routines you would recommend for people that really want to push their skill cap in those areas?
Um, I don't know if I have a recommended routine, but I have a routine I follow, sort of. I mostly start off by warming up my aim. Like, I usually, like, warming up on aim control maps, like, more like the techie or, like, alt, like, more like technical alt maps are usually what I warm up with. And then I'd start playing a bunch of mechanic stuff, and then and then after that, I just start playing what I want to play on that day. It's That's like my general routine of what I usually do nowadays.
And you also mentioned on the more like mental slash confidence side, like a lot of people, like I guess Would you say a lot of people don't push themselves enough when it comes to skill cap?
Um, Not too sure. Uh, yeah, I don't really know about that question. I think kind of depends on the person, right?
Okay, that's fair. So then, what about like specifically the people that you've done coaching with? Do you feel
Hmm.
like there's a wide variety even among those players?
Yeah, I think everyone's case is pretty different from another. Like some people wanted like certain routines, other people wanted like certain like tips and tricks on what they could do to maybe get past certain roadblocks, whether it's like a certain mapping or whether it's like a certain pattern in the map or some like reading issue they might have or yeah, it's always like a bit different depending on the person. I never I've never had like the same case twice so far.
So I think the last thing I sort of want to ask about regarding practice is tournament map pool practice. What's your
Hmm.
strategy for going through tournament map pools and yeah, especially on matches that you're really dedicated on or like trying to really do your best? What do you do when you're practicing those map pools?
When I get a new map pool, what I usually do is I play through the entire pool. Like I play through the entire map for each map once. I usually do this a couple days before the match or the day before the match because what I've learned is that if I practice a map pool throughout the entire week, I tend to like overthink certain patterns or like anticipate too much on what sort of patterns come up and like it like doesn't really help with like my anxiety sometimes when I'm playing through a map in the match itself. So yeah, I just make what I do is I make sure that I'm playing really well, that I'm de-rusted for that week, so that when I do go into the match, I can play the maps perfectly fine because I've already played them through once. But I'm de-rusted enough that I'll like kind of I'll make sure to hit each pattern when they come up, sort of thing.
I see. So
And
you don't
for yeah,
oh,
oh yeah.
you don't worry too much about like memorizing each map as opposed to just playing your best during the match day.
Hmm. I mean, if there's a map with a tricky pattern, I try to go over it a couple more times, but not too much because I when I also realize that when I tend to over like when I tend to practice a certain pattern too much, I also like don't perform that well. So it's like making sure that I get the general gist of it, and then kind of making sure that I know that when this pattern comes up, I'll be able to I'll be able to hit it potentially.
So then what about preparations on the day of the match? Are there any certain things you do, especially with warm up, to really make sure that you're playing your best?
Same routine.
Okay, so you just do everything the same.
Except instead of practicing like a specific skill set or whatever, I'll practice the map pool a bit more. I'll like I'll like go over the maps a couple more times, and I'll try to practice on maps that have a very similar skill set to the maps I'm going to go in for. So if there's a precision map, I'll make sure that I practice precision beforehand, or I'll make sure for speed I'll practice some speed beforehand. If it's not that fast, then I probably won't need to warm up on speed. If the precision map's highest CS is like 5.8, then probably don't need to practice too much 6.5, stuff like that. Just making sure that I'm comfortable enough on everything that I'm going for.
Interesting. But you so you would warm up that skill set but not play the specific map.
Yeah, unless the map has like a tricky pattern or two.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I feel like that strategy actually makes a lot of sense, especially if you have that sort of experience where like you don't want to play the map too many times.
Mhm.
All right, I think we've covered a wide variety of different tips and stuff, but out of everything, or even if it's something that you haven't mentioned yet, what would you say are the most important things for everyone to keep in mind if they want to keep improving?
It's all in your head. Gotta be in a mentally right shape when you're like gonna play the game. If you're not feeling like playing the game, if you're like mentally drained from it, maybe you're frustrated with the game, probably best that you don't. But if you are feeling motivated to play, then play.
All right, well said. Do you have any final words of wisdom or any last thoughts or opinions or anything else you'd like to share with the world?
Um, I don't know.
All good. Yeah, I think your what you said just earlier was good words to end off on. But yes, thanks again, Rekti, for taking the time to join us, and everyone, of course, for listening. And we will see you
Mhm.
all next time.